Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Dahl. I am the creator, most famously, the creator of Node. I also created Deno, slightly less famously. I'm also trying to wrestle the JavaScript trademark from Oracle.
That is quite the challenge, by the way, because Oracle is definitely known as a very top-heavy, slow-moving, probably very legalese corporation.
Yep, I think a lot of people don't even realize that Oracle owns the JavaScript trademark. Like it comes as a shock to to people often when they find out about it. But yeah, indeed, because of Sun Microsystems back in I think 1997, did a partnership with Netscape and got this trademark somehow, and then Oracle ate up Sun in like the 2000s and has subsequently renewed this trademark in 2019 and is owns the JavaScript trademark, even though they have basically nothing to do with it.
That's, I believe, also that partnership with Sun and the integration with Java. If you remember, I think it was December 1995, they did this announcement, a co-launching announcement letter of both Java and JavaScript being launched as languages. It's also the reason why you have null in JavaScript, is that Brent and I had to integrate with Java objects, which could be null.
What a weird time. It's just like, it's just mind bending. Like looking back, it's like, what are you guys thinking? Like, Jesus, why are you trying to make these two things similar when they're like, I don't know. It's
during that time though, like Java applets
history.
were big. They kept getting bigger and bigger.
That was like
people
the
were
main
trying
way
to
of scripting front end stuff was Java applets.
Yeah, I wrote my first game in
I
it.
guess. But for whatever whatever was thought about 30 years ago, times have changed, obviously. Yep. And the name JavaScript is perhaps unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, it's really, we've kind of tried to rename it to ECMAScript.
Yep.
But I mean, come on, nobody really uses that, and it's just a bit of a frustrating situation.
In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why we have it as ECMAScript and not JavaScript in all of its technical references is because the ECMA, what do you call it, the ECMA group in Europe, they did not want to bring it over under that name because they actually worried about litigation from Sun Microsystems, I believe, at the time, and thus Oracle afterwards. And so this has been this has actually been a very long process, and this is not the beginning of any kind. It's been going on for many years.
Decades, basically. Yeah. I think Brendan had told me that, there was at some point, like some people at Oracle who were like, yeah, actually, we'll just give this up and you guys can call it JavaScript and like, no big deal. We have no business interest in this, but somehow that got killed at a certain level. Who knows where. And yeah, indeed, they call the actual standard for JavaScript is called ECMAScript. They call it that to avoid this trademark issue. There is no JavaScript conference also to avoid this trademark issue. It's not encumbersome in that, like, Deno hasn't been sued by Oracle or anything because we're developing a JavaScript runtime, but there's like this aura of like, oh God, are we doing something wrong? Like, could we be sued at any minute because of this? Like, yeah, actually, potentially. Like that is a real possibility. And that's just unfortunate. Like it really doesn't need to be this way. And that's not what trademarks are for, to just kind of instill fear on an industry.
Yeah, because I mean, the reality is if Oracle saw it as a business advantage, they would actually have some means to minimally at least harass you legally, slow you down, add a bunch of things that even if they did lose at the end, it doesn't really matter for them. They have a lot of money. It's just about business and being able to move faster while someone moves slower. Like there's quite a bit of oddities when it comes to this that they could take advantage of just by simply owning this at some future point that could be just very annoying, minimally.
I think the whole, like, don't anthropomorphize Oracle sort of quote comes into mind. I mean, it's just a big corporation. I don't think it really has a brain in any sense. Like, they don't care about this. And the default position of their legal team is like, yes, we defend trademarks. Like, what do you mean? We own it, therefore we defend it. Like, there's no human in the loop, so to speak. And so, yeah, I mean, despite all of these open letters, the real action actually needs to happen with the trademark office, and we kind of have to speak to this lawnmower of a corporation in terms that they understand, which is kind of official proceedings with the trademark office, and ask them. There is a process for canceling a trademark, and we have started that process back in November.
All right, so how about there's been some updates since, I think you came on the Top Shelf months ago, and I believe we briefly discussed this. There's been some kind of updates. You want to kind of catch us up on what is happening, where are things at, and is there any light at the end of the tunnel currently?
Yeah, right. So we submitted our arguments for our petition for cancellation back in November. And just now, a few days ago, we've gotten a response from Oracle, basically the first official response. They had kind of asked for an extension at some point, and then they kind of gave our lawyer a call and said, yeah, actually, we are going to defend this. We're not just going to let this drop. But kind of the first actual response has happened. And it was a motion to dismiss, but I don't think that should be taken. So I'm reading a lot of comments online, and people are like, oh my God, like this is dramatic. I think this is normal lawyer posturing. Like this is all kind of very typical sort of stuff that would happen in a trademark dispute. So they have a problem with one of our claims. We had 3 claims where we're saying that the trademark is generic. JavaScript does not describe a specific product. It's actually a generic term for multiple different products. And in particular, none of them are Oracle's products. It describes, V8, it describes JS Core, it describes SpiderMonkey. It's a generic term for a language. There's an open standard for it, etc. Then we claim that the trademark has been abandoned. This is not allowed for trademarks. You must keep them up to date. You must control them. You must enforce them. And we argue that Oracle does not do this, right? There are millions of books about JavaScript on Amazon that you can buy that are, Oracle has not taken down. They do not refer to Oracle products. So the trademark is abandoned. There you go, Oracle. Why did you not sue these people? You should have done that. You should have gotten this stuff taken down, because that JavaScript for kids does not refer to whatever it is you think Oracle's JavaScript is. And then finally, fraud on the trademark office, because in their 2019 renewal, they used a screenshot of Node.js website as evidence for their trademark being in use. And I, in particular, was like, what in the actual fuck? Because as far as, Oracle has no relation to Node.js at all. And I find that personally offensive, it being my project. They have responded only regarding the fraud claim here. And they're basically saying, we want this claim to be dismissed, this fraud claim. And the reason is that we submitted 2 screenshots. We submitted a screenshot of Node.js, ignore that. But look at the other screenshot that we have, which is the Oracle JavaScript extension toolkit, Oracle Jet. And that shows JavaScript being used on an Oracle website. Therefore, there was no fraud, which I find very
half the provided evidence was not theirs in control, and they lied about it, but that's not fraud. Is that like just what they're saying? Is that the argument?
That's basically, they're just like, this is irrelevant to the discussion because we submitted this other screenshot, therefore that's fine. So of course we're going to come back and be like, okay, but why then did you submit the Node.js screenshot as this? It's the somewhat annoying thing is that we're going to have to take this one claim to this motion to dismiss to conclusion and kind of argue this back and forth before we can even get to kind of the more the actual meat of the argument here, which is the abandonment and the the genericness. This is all super normal, though, and not surprising. And lawyering is slow. So, there is going to be many months ahead of kind of back and forth stuff. And it is kind of interesting. This is my first interaction with a trademark cancellation petition. So, it's kind of interesting to see kind of the gears in work and see how lawyers deal with this stuff. So I would say this is all pretty normal. And yeah, I think we have a really good case here, but there's going to be some kind of slow back and forth here for the next couple of months.
So I guess my next question from someone I really truly don't know trademark stuff. Every time I've ever spoken about trademark stuff, everyone tells me I'm utterly wrong. So I've given up any of my knowledge. So I will defer solely to other people. Is this third point a personal point, or does the third point help with the case to make it come through? The only reason why I'm saying that is if you dropped, let's just pretend that you dropped this fraudulent claim and just said, hey, these other two things are true, which are obviously true, right? I'm holding a book right now that I bought off Amazon that's been around for years. So they clearly aren't pursuing any sort of legal action. They're not doing any sort of trademark protection. There's conferences, JSConf. Like I've seen one thing 2-3 years ago where someone did Rust for JS devs and they got hit with an Oracle trademark. That's the only one I know of, despite the literal millions of them that are out there. So does having this fraudulent thing help your case, or is it on a more personal level? I don't know the laws.
I think it's important for us to call out when a corporation like Oracle is misusing the trademark system. Mm-hmm. And this is related to the JavaScript trademark, and using a screenshot of a project that is completely unrelated to you. It's just wrong. Like whether it's personal in a sense. I mean, I'm just kind of, it's not like I'm super upset and crying over this, but it's, it's just kind of like, come on, man, like really you're going to do this. And yeah, I kind of want this brought up in an official manner. And like, I would like Oracle to acknowledge and say like, oops, that was our mistake. Like, we don't know what happened there at minimum, but sorry about that. I'm not keen to drop this, although that would make the proceedings go faster.
So I guess how I personally read this is that if anything, it just goes to show how little they truly do care about the trademark, that if half of the evidence submitted for their use of the trademark is not even something they control, own, profit off of, are related to, it just goes to show that it's like such a thing they don't even think about, right? Because, like Oracle would probably never get Oracle DB wrong. They'd get that right. That's a big thing. They'd get Red Hat right? They'd get a certain set of things right. They would not get... They got this wrong because it just doesn't matter. I think it makes a stronger case, even regardless of the personal part. But again, not a copyright guy.
It's just a legal team doing their. My guess is that it's just the legal department renewing their trademark. Somebody, I don't know what happened there, but like it's problematic. Like you should not be putting, screenshots of projects that you have no affiliation with into this, especially when you're, I don't know how big Oracle is, but, probably in the top 20 largest companies in the world. Like it's a little weird.
Yeah. So you got the next couple months, they have, so you have to respond, I assume, to the fraudulent charges saying, yes, we actually do want to go forward. Then you have to effectively wait for a court date, and then some judge has to then make, or you guys have to present cases, and then I would assume some sort of speech trademark judge has to then make some sort of ruling on point 3.
If it ultimately is kept in the case. So I think we're going to have to go back and forth and argue on claim 3, whether the fraud claim, and decide whether this is acceptable to keep in the petition or not. This is probably the weakest claim of the, as you said, like the first two are self-evident. The third one, you have to argue intent. And, that's a little difficult. Like maybe somebody made a mistake somewhere down the line and dropped this in. Maybe it wasn't, there was actually a lawyer there who was like, man, I'm going to like steal Node.js. Although there could be, like who knows? Maybe somebody was up late at night and they're like, I really got to submit this thing. I need one more thing in here. Nobody's going to look at this. Node.js, that's a thing. Let me do that. That's not okay. That's absolutely not okay. That's breaking the law. So that's a little hard to prove because who knows who that person is? You know, where that's kind of where discovery comes into play, and you know, we can ask Oracle to look into that and figure that out. So yeah, ultimately it's not a judge. This is not a, this is pretty similar to kind of federal litigation, but it's not actually a trial. It's something that goes before what's called the Trademark Trial and Appeals Board. You know, the governing body of the patent, trademark and patent office, and they will ultimately decide things. But there's a lot, you know, basically nobody at the trademark office is kind of looking at our interactions too deeply right now. There's no judge kind of overseeing it. We're going to go back and forth and kind of agree on what gets ultimately presented to this TTAB. And that process is going to take some time.
TTAB, can you define that term?
Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, I believe it stands for. Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is super cool that you're doing this. I know this is probably, even if all legal cost of all kinds are set aside and everything's pro bono, there's still just like a huge amount of headache, communication, time, thought, and all that has to go into this. So this is awesome that you're doing this.
It's kind of fun though, in a certain way. I mean, you get to like learn about the legal system, learn about trademarks, and I find it somewhat amusing, like dealing with Oracle. Just, you know, given other people's experience. I used to work with Brian Cantrell, and he hates Oracle. And I just had to listen to a number of his tirades at the office at Joyent, 15 years ago. And it's kind of amusing to have my own battle here now with them.
That's pretty dang good. Is there any, with all of this, is there any sort of negative outcome? Just throwing this out there kind of as just a thought experiment. If Oracle now decides it needs, like, say we go into fighting, are they going to start enforcing their trademark? Is this going to bring it to the attention that they need to be more enforcing? Because like Nintendo does not allow anything, right? And that's because they're very intense about their trademark. Whereas it's like Oracle, it appears that they don't enforce anything. And so now do they need to start? Is this going to cause danger to people?
I mean, like, it would just become all the more apparent, like, how ridiculous this is if, like, Google starts getting a cease and desist and says, don't call, Chrome has JavaScript in it. Don't call it JavaScript. It's not JavaScript. You have to say ECMAScript. Or if, dozens and dozens of authors of technical books start getting cease and desist. Like, if they tried to actually enforce this, it would just cause a huge wave of outrage. I mean, the only reason that this thing is persisted right now is that they're basically not doing anything. And so people aren't aware of it. But, as soon as people start saying like, hey, you got to change your JavaScript for Kids book into ECMAScript for Kids, people are going to be like, what the fuck? Or sorry, what the heck? It's this kind of, fog of uncertainty around the trademark is better clarified than anything. I mean, let's just conceive of a situation where Oracle wins this. I think it's very, very unlikely, but let's just say they win this. I mean, then we should really start trying to change the language name, right? Like we should really, really start a actual effort to move things. If Oracle is going to start sending cease and desist letters to all of these people, I think the very difficult work of renaming this language in everybody's minds to JS or ECMAScript or whatever, is then becomes necessary, and it's just like that's a lot of work to undertake to change the name of something in a bunch of people, in millions and millions of people's minds. But yeah, I mean, if there's legal consequences and you really have to do that, then I think people would do that. But I think I am like 99% certain that's not going to happen, because it would just be it's just not in anybody's benefit. Like, who's this benefiting? What does Oracle get out of this at the end of the day? They don't even have a product to sell. That they're only defending this because it's a mindless lawnmower.
So then I guess the first what about TypeScript? Do you feel that the same argument could be made also for TypeScript? Microsoft doesn't seem to pursue any sort of.
No, that's a very different situation.
Can you help me understand why that one's different comparatively?
So, I mean, first of all, there is, so Microsoft created it, they trademarked it, they make the only implementation of it. There's a couple of parsers for TypeScript, like SWC, but the only real type checker is TSC. So there's only really one implementation of it. That's still maintained and controlled by Microsoft. That's perfectly valid. I mean, that's IP that they created from scratch and are maintaining, and like they can call that whatever they want to. That's perfectly fine in my mind.
Okay, but they don't enforce the trademark, as far as I can tell.
I would assume that they do, but I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. It's a very interesting world for all those that are, because I'm sure there's a huge amount of people that always wondered why in the TS config did you say ES next or ES 2017 or ES 2018. This is all part of the exact same thing that's been going on for so long, which is this weird little indirection that exists. It's just like, well, actually ES next, we're talking about ECMAScript, the actual specification. So it's kind of like this fun.
We're talking about JavaScript.
We're talking about JavaScript, but not really, right?
Yeah, wink, wink. Yeah.
Wow. All right, well, this is awesome. And do you have any further words you want to say about this, or any ways that people can help, any things that people can do, sign?
So far, legal is expensive. Obviously, this is a side project for me. Main project is Deno, just kind of doing this in my off hours. But doing it through the Deno Corporation, because the Deno Corporation actually has standing to bring this case. I think that's an important thing here. Like, if you wanted to bring up this JavaScript trademark issue with Oracle, you probably don't have standing to do that, because you have no kind of skin in the game, so to speak.
I don't even have a real name on the internet.
Because of this Node.js fraud thing, and because Deno makes a JavaScript runtime, like we actually have standing to bring this case. So far, this has been pretty cheap, all things considered. This is kind of putting together. We've done a lot of research ourselves. There hasn't been a lot of lawyering. We just kind of need the lawyers to put it into the right form of arguments to present to the TTAB. However, now that the case is kind of starting to get underway and we're kind of doing a lot of back and forth, there's going to be kind of a discovery phase. The lawyering is going to increase here, and that is potentially going to get expensive for Deno. And yeah, this is kind of a battle on behalf of everybody, even though, we do have standing here. I think potentially in the future, we may start some sort of Kickstarter campaign around this.
Okay.
But, a couple $1,000s is like no big deal for us. So it hasn't really come to that. But if it starts getting into like hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, that's kind of anyway. So I would say what people can do is kind of look out for that. If we do start a Kickstarter for legal funds, that would be helpful. But so far, no action needed other than going to javascript.tm and signing the open letter to lend support.
Okay, so javascript.tm. I love that you got that website. Tasmania, is that TM?
Maybe, I forget.
Turkmenistan. Okay. There you go. Okay, so you can sign the letter Do more signatures help?
Yeah, I mean, I think you become aware of the issue, and more people being aware of this issue and following along in what happens helps us.
Okay, perfect. Well, I would love to. I'll make sure I include this, and then if you do ever need to raise the funds, we'll make sure we get you back on here, and you can we can update that and help hopefully make that happen.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan.